So let's look a little further at this metabolism. And really, we're going to use it to answer an applied question now. Why is it important to train all athletes aerobically? Even if the athlete isn't using the oxidative pathway during competition, say in shot put or football. Well, it's important to train them aerobically so that they can exercise at a high intensity without producing a lot of lactate. Because we know that lactate will change the pH balance of the system and the body will have to stop exercising due to fatigue. So metabolism, as we know, really begins with the processing of substrates. And so glucose comes in. Think of this glucose coming into the metabolic system as sort of like going into an amusement park. Glucose comes into the amusement park and it has a couple of decisions it can make. As soon as people come into the amusement park, they want to go to the big, fast rides. It would prefer to go through the glycolytic pathway and become ATP. Remember, we assimilate this with a high-speed roller coaster, right? High intensity, very quick. Glycolysis, again, takes place anywhere from 2 to 6 minutes. So, after this is happening, we have to make a decision. And now, our pyruvate can either become lactate or head towards the TCA cycle. Think of this as the pyruvate as people lining up for the next series of rides. Now, they ultimately want to get to the TCA cycle. Think of the TCA cycle as a Ferris wheel. And the Ferris wheel is inside the mitochondria. And that's what's driving the creation of ATP, or more energy. However, when the park opens, Ferris wheel isn't ready. So for about 5 to 10 minutes in the onset of exercise, we really find it difficult to process anything through the TCA cycle. So the pyruvate then has nowhere to go other than towards lactate. Sort of like hanging out at the refreshment stands until they can get out on the rides. Now, after a warm-up period, 5 to 10 minutes, plus the presence of oxygen, that pathway opens up and the pyruvate can move towards the TCA cycle. Now, the seats on the Ferris wheel fill with pyruvate and we produce ATP. Everything seems really good. If we maintain this, after about 45 minutes, we know that beta oxidation takes place and therefore we start processing lipids. Now, think of that athlete that needs to perform at a higher intensity. If you pick up the intensity, the ride shuts down, right? It can't take any more riders than it's already been taking. So, it gets turned away and sent back to lactate. This could lead to the end of the exercise session or a reduction in performance. So, what happens is typically you decrease your intensity. Usually, you're decreasing your performance when that happens so that you can continue activity. The gateway reopens. Now you can fill the Krebs cycle again and continue the ride. Now, the goal here is to optimize the Ferris wheel or optimize the TCA cycle, right? If we can take more riders, if we can take more pyruvate, then we can exercise at a higher intensity for longer without excessive production of lactate. This is where it is important to train all of our athletes aerobically, even though they may be operating in the ATP-CP cycle or the glycolytic cycle. This person really wants to work at a high intensity as possible without excessive production of lactate. And so to increase the efficiency of the TCA cycle, we do this by increasing the size, the number, and the quality of mitochondria. So either the Ferris wheel gets bigger and can take more riders, it moves quicker, gets people on and off, or we just have more Ferris wheels.